Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look here today at Dent Wireless, which is a coin that has always been quite unique over time, and it's actually just a coin that a lot of my subscribers like to get as much information as possible on. So that's why I cover this here, of course, on a fairly regular basis to ensure that you stay up in the know, abreast essentially of what's going on, because this coin does have potential to get to 1 cent very soon. So we'll take a look at that here. Just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research and take ownership of your own trades, right? And what I mean by that is just learn as much as you can from as many people as possible so you can grow and develop and learn your own style that works best for you. Because everything you're going to learn here today isn't necessarily a foolproof plan. I'm really only 80% successful on average. Okay, it could be better, of course, if you find and articulate smaller little details, but I like the system that I have and it works well for me, so find and develop your own. That being said, if you're interested in kind of follow along with my trades, I have a link in the description below for my premium Patreon account. Check that out in your own time, of course, and I provide best practice, entry points, sell targets, profit targets, and even including swing trading and hodl trading now as well. So it's kind of a lot of fun. We're all having a good time together. So check that out again in your own time. Also reference my Telegram community if you haven't already joined that, of course. And thank you to all of my subscribers, of course. I want to thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate that. You mean the world to me. So thanks again. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's check out the charts. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look here today at Dent. And just before we do, we always look at Ethereum and Bitcoin first, get a baseline in the market so we know exactly what's going on, because any good trader is going to look at all the angles before they make an informed decision, right? Or in order to make that informed decision, you need to know everything that's happening in the market, at least from a bird's eye view, right? We'll take a closer dive at Dent, of course, but just to preface, we always look at TradingView.com desktop application. That's my go-to, essentially the best charting tool you could utilize. So I highly recommend maybe the paid versions because you get more than 2 indicators present at a time. If you'd like to check out the the link in the description below, I do actually have a paid version there, or basically just gives you a free month of the paid service so you know kind of what to expect and see if you benefit from it. I just personally like to have more than 2 indicators present on my chart at any given time. I only prefer 2 indicators per time frame, but I have a lot of different indicators based on specific time frames that kind of fit my needs, right? And I'll show you all that here today if you haven't already seen my videos or you're not familiar with what I do here. Moving forward, this is Bitcoin 4-hour chart. So we first of all look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, of course, and just a note, we've got a few support and resistance levels here. So first things first, we got a major resistance at about 48,000 as a close approximate. There's a big channel between 48,000 and 50,000. That's one of the big major buy zones from previously. So there's a chance this might work as a resistance level, but for now, the price is up above 46,500. That is effectively the price that's been tested multiple times here recently. So as soon as we got this ramp up here in this last 4-hour time frame, the price basically stayed above that almost the entire time. Also note we've got a strong support level at about 44,000, and below that, of course, 42,500, right? So just a handful of different support and resistance levels, but for right now, the key takeaway here is that the price is up over 46,500. Oh, and also it's above the simple moving average too. So this is a 50-day simple moving average. The 200 is trailing behind, but for the 50, we can see that the price blew through there. We had a major short squeeze at 46,000 even. It was really nice to see that. Of course, because I'm not shorting at this time, but furthermore, the simple fact that I had an open position there with my signal group, and essentially that allowed us to take profit once it broke through that resistance. All right, so moving on to Ethereum, taking a look here, of course, we've got a resistance at approximately 3250 and a support at 2900 even. This is a very strong support level, so if the price does come back down for some reason or another, Bitcoin dumps to 40,000, we're going to see Ethereum likely bounce off that and still be okay. But the bottom line here is that the price is above this candlestick just closed no less than 2 minutes ago, so the price is actually above the 50-day simple moving average, so therefore it's considered a support level now. That's very good news for Ethereum. Moving on to Dent. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the the 1-day chart before we look at the 4-hour. And you'll see a handful of things here, of course. First of all, we got some major support and resistance levels, but prefacing that, we have the 200-day simple moving average that was a previous resistance, now a support. Same with the 50 as well. We could have a golden cross swinging upwards here in the fairly near future. For right now, though, at this point in time, the support level of Again, I'm just gonna say 7.3 to avoid having to say 0, right? But 0.0073 or 7.3 is essentially the support level, and we also have a support at about 60. All right. Now in that range, essentially, it had this little channel. It was retracing, of course, but now thankfully it's back up above, and we had a pretty strong one-day candle here recently. All right. Now, big picture too. Also note we have a major resistance at about 1.1 cents, or 0.011, and that is essentially going to be one of the next major resistance levels, minus the current here. In fact, why don't we go ahead and mark that as well, because we had 2 days in a row that closed. This just happened since the last time I analyzed this at about just say 8 or 8.1. All right. This is kind of what we're looking at there for Dent. Quickly note, RSI is still up over 70. That's essentially working as a support level, which is nice. It's a good sign, actually. On the one-day chart, we like to see that. Just means there's plenty of room for growth. We didn't have a divergence here or convergence at all, so price is just continuing naturally. Looking at the 4-hour chart here, we'll touch on this here first. We'll go ahead and just double check. We do have a strong convergence on the MACD at approximately 9 a.m. today. So that's this guy here. We'll go ahead and mark that just so we can kind of see on the Ishimoku cloud correlation. But the important thing to note here is the fact that the price is up over the 50-day simple moving average, right? It came down, pretty much tested the 50, and then no less than 8 hours later, because it did drop below there, you can see how it dropped below the support level of 0.006, or just say 6, worked as a strong support level. Okay, so it kept the price up, held the price up, and then the price continued back upwards. So very good stuff here we can see. Just bear in mind, if you have an open position right now, 7.3 is essentially the strong support level, because it has been a strong support level in the past and recently broke above and held above. Therefore, we should expect that moving forward to still stick as a support. So, in essence, depending on what happens here in the near future, we should see the price action at least go sideways for a little while, and then possibly ramp back up to go ahead and test this next major resistance. Moving at the 1-hour chart, taking a look here, of course, we're going to enable the Ishimoku cloud and take a look. And what do you know? The MACD convergence in the 4-hour chart pretty much told us and signaled for us that we have a strong buy signal. So if you can do yourself a favor, set up a MACD 4-hour basically indicator where you can essentially be able to get notified as soon as there's a convergence from the 12 and the 26 intersecting upwards, because that is essentially a green light to take a position in a long position, typically as a swing trader. Right? You can still do it as a day trader, of course, but a little more meticulous. However, when you look here and you see this, because I drew this approximately right in the center of that 4-hour chart, or the 4-hour chart, yes, but the 4-hour candlestick, you can see that the price is above right here on the Ishimoku cloud. So when the price is above the cloud, if you're new to the channel, it's considered a buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. So had you shorted right here, you would have taken some profits. Had you longed right here, you'd be in the green right now as well. So what would that be? That'd be approximately 13, somewhere in the range of 10 to 12%, I guess you could say. 13 on the upside, but you never know where the top's going to be. But what's great about this is you can see how strong the support level is here at 6 basically, or 0.006. Sorry, that's throwing me off. You can totally tell here basically it worked as a strong support level, and it eventually just worked itself into this wedge pattern here too. You can kind of see that eventually it just broke out. But what's interesting is we typically, when we see a descending wedge pattern, it's usually bearish, but Bitcoin had a very similar pattern forming, and it broke upwards because that strong support level at 44,000. So we kind of see that reflecting here for Dent as well, because a lot of times, Dent's movements are fairly reliant on Bitcoin. Yes, it goes on its little spurts, but for the most part, I have noticed that it does have a lot of price action relevant to Bitcoin, which is another good reason as to why we want to look at that too, right? Another thing to note here as well on TD sequential, we can see that we've got a 9 here. So we are effectively in overtime right now. So I really hope that the price just goes sideways, stays above that support level there, and holds for a reset. Then we start counting back up again. We want to have no less than 4 to 8 hours worth of consolidation, preferably no retracement, but just straight consolidation going sideways. And then we'll see another ramp up likely after that. So I would say at this point, you might want to anticipate maybe at least 8 hours, perhaps even 12 hours worth of consolidation, either sideways action, some slight retracement there, and before it tries to ramp back up. If it ramps up too quickly, keep in mind that could it could, reach a state of exhaustion and retrace down a lot further. So if you see back here when we got a 9 from before, it ramped up and it had to come back down. Yes, it went sideways, but it still came back down about 50%. Okay. So to avoid that kind of retracement, we want to see some sideways action from Dent for a little while in order for it to go on a second leg up again. Okay. So taking a look at the quickly at the 15 here, we'll go ahead and turn that guy off. And just kind of take a quick peek at the EMA VWAP notification here. Now, if you're new to the channel, VWAP is just a volume weighted average price. Basically takes the volume last 24 hours, expresses it as a price. It resets at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every single day. Depending on your time zone, it would essentially reflect that. But generally speaking, if you're looking at 5 p.m., that's why this VWAP jumps straight up to meet with the price. And why it's helpful and important, though, is the VWAP is a day trader tool. You're not going to use this every single day, but I use it as kind of confirmation to ensure when the price is above VWAP, it's considered a support. When it's below, it's considered a resistance, right? So you can see here, most of the day it's been wavering back and forth, right? It keeps testing this support level and bouncing off. But when it finally makes up its mind, you can see here the yellow carrot sticks here, basically telling us, the up arrows, that we have confirmation. That would have been a case in point where we want to take entry. Now, I share this notifications with my community members, my patrons, and what I do is I basically provide all my trading with my members. In other words, I provide buy signals, sell signals, profit targets, everything you kind of need to know to be more of an effective trader. I share that with my community members, and there's a link in the description below for that if you want to check that out on your own time. But this is also a notification that I share with members who would like to maybe add that to their TradingView. And what it does, it basically gives you a signal, and what it's telling us is that the price is over VWAP, that's check number one. Price is over EMA, which is a second check mark, essentially, basically telling you that the bulls are in control, right? Because if you can see here, when the price broke above, it stayed above. It kept testing, but it kept staying above, right? So as long as the price holds EMA, we'll likely see the price continue on this bull run, right? Again, I prefer to see the sideways action for a little while and get some consolidation and another breakout, but leading into that, you can see that we still have, the bulls are still in control, okay? But in retrospect, if you're looking back here, and say you were considering taking entry near support here, that would have been a good consideration because of how well it held. We saw that already. But furthermore, you get confirmation here, and these yellow up arrows are basically telling us the price is over EMA, over VWAP, but also giving us 30 minutes of confirmation. Because again, these are 15-minute candlesticks, so you have 30 minutes of confirmation in the direction you're trying to head, right? So instead of just say, getting a 1 or 2 minute confirmation, right? How beneficial is that? You don't know if the bulls are in control yet, right? But if they're controlling the market for 30 minutes and they're driving the price up, the likelihood of them continuing that is much higher, right? So that's why I have a system set up here that gives me about an 80% success rate overall by working my way down from the 1-day chart all the way down to the 15-minute. And this is literally all I do on every analysis. So everything you see here that you've learned today, I utilize this myself and have approximately 80% success rate. Now, plus or minus a couple percent depending on the time of year, of course, but generally speaking, it's fairly straightforward. You look at the 1-day chart and the 4-hour chart, identify the simple moving averages and the MACD and RSI, kind of see where it's at. You transition to the 1-hour chart if you had a convergence on the MACD and the 4-hour, and you have basically an upward momentum and the price is above the Ishimoku cloud on the 1-hour chart, then you're in pretty good shape, right? As long as you don't have a 9 on the continuation for the TD sequential, then we should be able to see the price move on up. Right now we hit a 9, right? We've already identified that. Therefore, we're going to probably see some sideways action. So that being said, if you're going to plan to take entry here moving forward, because I know that's why a lot of you are here to kind of understand and predict what's going to happen next, my prediction is that the price should go and hopefully will go sideways for at least 8 more hours and then ramp up after that. So I would say pay attention to see how the price responds to the EMA. Also note, how does the price respond to this support level? Currently right now it's responding very well. It's above, and for the last hour, so to speak, it's trying to test it and reject it. It's trying to test it and keeps getting rejected. You can see there's almost a straight line right here. So if that continues, and you see the price is kind of wavering above and below, just like it did here, then you're looking for another breakout. And the next thing to identify is to wait for the price to be over EMA and VWAP to ensure you have confirmation, and to also, furthermore, ensure you have 30 minutes of confirmation. Don't just jump in when you got a little 1 minute or a 5-minute candlestick. That's not efficient. That's not enough. Be patient. Wait for that confirmation. You get that yellow up arrow, or just 30 minutes of bullish momentum above EMA and VWAP. That's the entry point for the next for the next leg up. So yeah, big picture, ultimately, you got to understand that Dent has a lot of potential. 1 cent is right here. That's one of my alerts that I have for my signal groups, and I can tell you that it's going to continue likely well past where it's at right now. So I think we're going to see Dent to 1 cent again here in the next couple weeks, if not sooner, because once we break this resistance here, there's really not much stopping it. There's quite a lot of room for growth there because there's not much else that's happened. So I'd say 1 cent is a resistance level, but between 80 and basically 0.008 and 1 cent, you're looking at a lot of range of motion here. So when it breaks above, it should likely stay above. Also note too, keep in mind we need to make sure the 1-day chart closes above this resistance level. Okay, so you can see it's closed below 2 days in a row. If this 1-day candlestick, just say we get the next 24 hours to ramp up to that level and it closes below again, it's considered still a resistance level. It's not going to be a support. It'll only become a support if the candlestick closes above. And in this case, the 1-day chart is the most important because that's what a lot of the industry leaders are utilizing primarily for their their targets and their stop losses, etc. And so there's probably a lot of short positions that were there. That's why they got squeezed out here. But most of them have their limits set right at this resistance level. So if it breaks up there, you'll see kind of a short squeeze probably where the price just drives right through it. So it was one of those beautiful things to kind of witness. We saw one here today with Bitcoin at 46,000. That was awesome. But needless to say, that's the state of the union here for Dent. So I hope you found benefit. If you do, great, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment below, and obviously support me on Patreon if you could, of course, just based on the simple fact that I'm supporting a lot of people as well. We're all doing this together, and we can all trade together too. It's a really cool experience. So check that out in your own time, but I really appreciate you making this far. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one.